And speaking of that Sukma Naxal attack, we have the first exclusive image of the mastermind, the Sukma mastermind, the person who really was leading the operation. As we told you, 25 CRPF jawans came under attack by almost 300 Maoists. But I'm going to go straight across now to Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, give us more details, give us more information of this bit of news that has come about, the image that we can see on our screens right now.
The man you see on your television screen, this is the first images that our sources in the government have, in the Ministry of Home Affairs have given to us. Hidima, he is the 1st Battalion commander of the Maoist, left-wing extremist Hidima. Now, this is an image that was taken earlier of, another Maoist who had been killed in a terror attack, in a counter-terror attack launched by the security forces. He was there in that on a meeting. Now, after that, this image was taken from the mobile phone of a dead Maoist. This is Hidima, the man who's suspected to be the mastermind of yesterday's terror attack on the security forces. He was the one who led the operation. Now, the information that India Today has is that this man on your television screen, the 1st Battalion commander, they had walked into this area, they surveyed the entire area, and now we have details of how this was masterminded. The Maoists were tracking the movement of the CRPF battalion from the moment the CRPF personnel left their camp. Some of the Maoists were tracking their movement, Avantika. Around 10:30 when they broke off for tea, a group of villagers, now they were shepherds, they had some cattle with them, they came very close to the CRPF battalion, which had 99 people, the CRPF company. That was the assessment party. So look at the intelligence that the Maoists had. They came close, they saw that there were about 99 people, they also saw what kind of weapons they were carrying, and then those shepherds went back. 3 hours later, around 12:20, when they broke off for lunch, and CRPF follows this as standard operating procedure, when they broke off for lunch, so half the people were eating food, the other half were actually standing guard. But the moment there is a switch over between those who are eating food and those who are standing guard, that's the time the Maoists attacked. And first, there was an attack from the left flank. A large group of villagers came. Behind them were women cadres of the Maoists, and behind them was Hidima and the others. So they launched a deception attack. Now, the deception attack, as the CRPF started responding to the deception attack, then the real attack came from the right flank. So while the entire focus was on the left, the main attack came from the right. As the security forces dealt with the right attack, the reserve team, so the reserve team of about 100 Maoists, they then launched the second wave of attack. And wave after wave of this attack came, and that lasted almost an hour. That is where they succeeded in killing 25 CRPF personnel and injuring several others. What we are now being told is, several of these Maoists were also injured in this counter offensive that was mounted by the CRPF. But because the CRPF was heavily outnumbered and outgunned, the Maoists succeeded in taking their own dead bodies back. And unfortunately, they carried back with them more than 3,200 rounds of ammunition, 12 assault rifles, including several AK-47s and INSAS under-barrel grenade launchers and LMGs.
This is absolutely shocking, isn't it, Gaurav? I mean, you were just talking about the detailing to which they had executed this attack. 300 Maoists. I'm just amazed. I mean, how, well executed, well planned this attack has been, and how closely they have been observing every movement of the CRPF, personnel who have been there on site overseeing the road construction work.
Spot on there. In fact, if you recall, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh had described Maoists, the left-wing extremism, as the biggest threat to India's territorial integrity. But, from the threat that the Maoists posed at that point of time to the threat that they pose today, now many of these security analysts in the Ministry of Home Affairs would want us to believe that this threat is now restricted only to Sukma, only to Bastar, only to a pocket in Chhattisgarh. But the fact still remains that they haven't succeeded. The government hasn't succeeded in, one, neutralizing the threat, and two, what is very significant is gathering intelligence. If 300 people, even if 200 people are assembling at any one point of time, the local police intelligence should have access to that information, and that information should be passed on to the CRPF. None of this appears to have happened. The same thing happened in 2010. Very similar stuff is happening now in 2017.
And how can this change? I mean, 25 CRPF men being massacred in this very deadly ambush. Gaurav, I mean, there needs to be some serious redrawing, some serious rejig, some serious rethink from here on, isn't it?
Well, the Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh has announced that there will be a rethink. He said if required on the 8th of May, this meeting that is happening in Delhi, where all left-wing extremism affected states, their Director Generals of Police, their counter-terror forces, their home ministers, now they are all likely to come to Delhi and they will brainstorm. But what is required at this point of time is, one, a dedicated force, two, dedicated intelligence gathering mechanism, three, a clear directive, and perhaps that is most important, a clear directive both from the central government and states being on board, because law and order is a state subject. So states have to be on board in an operation to neutralize the threat, to eliminate the threat. What happens now is the moment pressure mounts in Chhattisgarh, these left-wing extremists, they go into either Bengal or Jharkhand or Andhra Pradesh or any other neighbouring state. A nationwide simultaneous operation, a pincer move to pin them down and neutralize them, that still remains to be seen on ground. That isn't happening.
And what about, the fact that how these Maoists repeatedly use villagers, young children and women as human shields, because that is also something that deters the personnel, the security forces on the other side from retaliating.
The human shield, yesterday human shield was used. We have eyewitnesses, Sher Bahadur, that young CRPF constable who says that he shot at least 4 Maoists. He said that initially they couldn't fire back because the first wave of Maoists who came, they were hiding behind villagers. And behind them were women cadre of Maoists, but they appeared unarmed initially, and suddenly when they came closer, they opened fire at the security forces. So human shield is one problem. Two, what you also notice is, why is it that this 56-kilometer stretch of road, why are the Maoists opposing this? Why is it that the moment electricity towers are put up or telephone towers are put up in that area, those towers are destroyed? Is it because the Maoists want to carry out, it's a multi-million-dollar empire that they run. They claim to be Gandhians with guns, or those who apologize for them may claim they're Gandhians with guns. But the fact remains, they're running an illegal multi-million-dollar empire, whether it's illegal mining or smuggling or trafficking. A lot of that is happening in Maoist-affected areas, and their apologists, in urban centers will give out any spiel. But there is a war that is on that needs to be fought with national interests kept in mind.
Absolutely. And Gaurav, what about the involvement of women cadre, in that deadly ambush? What is that strategy? Has something changed? Is it meant to hoodwink the security forces? Or are we seeing, an increase of these women in militia-type uniforms also part of such incidents?
Women cadre from virtually the backbone of left-wing extremism. While we do often read reports about how women are exploited by their male counterparts as far as left-wing extremism is also concerned, but they form a very important wave. Now, it's also easier for them to just simply abandon their weapons, change into civilian clothes and mingle with the rest of the crowd. But in this particular incident, some of the eyewitnesses say that it was the women cadre who were virtually leading this operation from the right flank that launched the other attack. Remember, this again was 3 flanked attacks on security forces. They were cornered, they were ambushed, they tried to beat back this ambush, but 25 personnel lost their lives and some others were injured. Women, extremely important, child soldiers they're using, that's a known fact. But why is it? And if we've got videos that we've put out about how Maoists are now training their cadre to bring down helicopters. What they say, helicopters fly low, use your small arms, aim at the rotor. What will happen is that that will bring down debris into the engine and the helicopter will come down. So that is the kind of military precision training that Maoists are getting.
Right. We also have with us on the broadcast now ex-DGP Bhupinder Singh joining us on the phone line. Sir, thanks so much for speaking to us. We are just also seeing the visuals of the Home Minister who is taking the opportunity to meet those who had sustained serious injuries, just giving them that kind of reassurance and congratulating them for their bravery. But the fact is that the nation has lost 25 CRPF jawans in one of the, most deadly attacks that has taken place in years.
Yes, there's no denying that.
Yes.
And obviously there may have been some operational lapses which led to so many of the CRPF personnel being killed all at one go. So I think we need to sort of revisit and do a very proper post-mortem on the incident to find out what were the lapses and why they took place and what can be done in the future. Now, unless we do a particularly well-analyzed post-mortem, these kind of incidents are going to happen over and over again. And we have to also be prepared for that.
Sir, I wanted to understand from you that on the ground, one is very well versed of the challenges that they face, of the kind of threat they face. Then can't a tragedy of this kind or of this nature be averted? Can't operational lapses be averted or, foreseen by seniors in the administration?
I'm sure there must have been some intelligence, or they have to be very, very careful while operating in those areas.
Yes.
Because sometimes even the intelligence is not sufficiently detailed to be able to take care of these kind of attacks. But which also just goes to show that we are only looking at ourselves or a very small adjacent area, and we really don't know what is going on in the hinterland. Because an attack of this magnitude would have been well planned by the Maoists, and the intelligence gathering about the CRPF and about their operational deployment and about their modus operandi, how they're functioning in that area.
True.
They would have been under some very close scrutiny by the Maoists and taking an opportunity, because there is no. You just cannot afford even a little a slip. This
right.
has to be drilled into the minds of the people operating in the area. One little lapse, and then that's it. It's curtains for a lot of them.
That's true. Bhupinder Singh there, the former DGP of West Bengal. Thank you so much for your time. And Gaurav, thank you so much for getting us up to speed and to all the events, the reactions and the information coming in on one of the deadliest Naxal ambush that has been witnessed in years now, in which 25 CRPF jawans tragically lost their lives.